The movie begins with a chaotic and chilling scene, deep in a dense, shadowy jungle. A young girl, bruised and bleeding, is running for her life. Every painful step brings her closer to a slim chance of escape, but the danger behind her is relentless. Chasing her is a towering figure known as Adam Cole, or Crusher, a notorious cannibal. His monstrous appearance, deformed and mutated by chemicals, is as terrifying as his reputation. Crusher closes in with heavy, thunderous footsteps. In one brutal motion, he grabs the girl's head with his massive hand. The sickening sound of bones breaking cuts through the jungle air, and her life is snuffed out in an instant. True to his gruesome name, Crusher drags her body back to his lair, where the true horror unfolds. Inside, Crusher's older brother lounges in front of the TV, casually watching as if nothing horrific has happened. Unbothered, Crusher begins dismembering the girl's body to heighten the grotesque atmosphere. The TV plays footage of a previous victim, a boy they tortured and killed. The air reeks of death. The sound of chopping fills the room, and the brothers fry the girl's flesh with onions, eating it with disturbing ease. The story then shifts to a group of kidnappers transporting the daughter of a wealthy man. She's locked in the trunk of their car. Among them are Sarah and her cousin, unwilling participants in this nightmare. When they stop at a gas station, the tension rises. Sarah's cousin contemplates escaping, but can't bring herself to abandon her sister. As they lay low, a sheriff strikes up a casual conversation with a nearby man, and the group grows increasingly nervous. One of them grips his gun tightly, ready for the worst, while Sarah tries to deflect attention. Her shaky voice betrays her fear, but eventually, the group gets back on the road. The tension hits its peak when a massive deer appears in their path, forcing the driver to swerve. The car crashes, and the deer's antlers impale one of the kidnappers. His screams echo as the deer, still alive, thrashes against him. Desperate, he shoots the deer, but his own life cannot be saved. Without hesitation, the driver's cold-hearted brother finishes him off with a single shot to end his suffering. With their plan falling apart and the car wrecked, the group has no choice but to continue on foot. Guilt weighs heavily on them as they trudge through the wilderness with their kidnapped victim, lost and unsure of what to do next. Panic sets in as a truck approaches. The driver, noticing their desperate state, stops to help, but one of the kidnappers, consumed by madness and greed, shoots him. The gunshot echoes through the night, and the driver collapses, wounded. Just as the kidnapper moves in to finish him off, Sarah's cousin intervenes, giving the truck driver a chance to escape into the jungle. Unbeknownst to the kidnappers, Crusher's brother has been silently watching from the shadows. His eyes gleam with hunger as he rushes back to inform Crusher of their new prey. Heartbroken over the failed escape of his last victim, Crusher is reinvigorated by the thought of fresh meat. The two brothers share a menacing laugh as they prepare for their hunt. Meanwhile, the truck driver succumbs to his injuries, bleeding out on the roadside. An old man stumbles upon his body and immediately contacts the sheriff. The situation grows more dire when a chilling radio report confirms that the kidnappers are still at large. The sheriff, racing against time, is determined to end the nightmare before more lives are lost. By morning, the darkness begins to surface. Troubled by unease, the sheriff calls for backup, but feels compelled to investigate the scene alone. Meanwhile, Sarah's brother tends to the kidnapped girl, who has endured unimaginable brutality. Unbeknownst to them, Crusher, the silent predator, is stalking them. Among the kidnappers, one of the goons is losing patience. His anger boils over, clouding his judgment and driving him to kill Sarah's brother. But as he fires his gun, the unintended target is revealed. He got shot by Crusher's brother. Instead, he collapses, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Panic takes hold as Sarah scrambles to come up with a desperate lie. "He was kidnapping us. Please save us," she cries, her voice trembling with fear. Her frantic attempts to spin the situation fail to sway Crusher's brother, who remains cold and unmoved. When Sarah's brother tries to intervene, a gun barrel strikes him across the face, silencing him instantly. Both siblings are shackled and dragged to the car. Confusion grips them. Why are they being taken to the car? Crusher's brother has other plans. Fixated on the idea of a deer's head as a tempting meal, he leaves the girl behind almost as an offering to Crusher. But Crusher has a different plan. With one powerful blow, he renders the girl unconscious, readying her for a fate worse than death. Sarah's brother was forced to decapitate the deer holding its blood-soaked head. He felt disgusted by its weight. Nervously, he asked, "Aren't you taking the meat too?" Crusher's brother smirked, his voice calm but cold. "We don't eat animals." A chill ran through Sarah's brother as he realized these men didn't eat animals. They were cannibals. Back at the house, Crusher dragged the unconscious girl inside and dunked her limp body in water. But she wasn't as out of it as she appeared. As soon as Crusher left, she tried to escape, only to crash into an obstacle and collapse in fear. Crusher's brother soon returned, dragging Sarah and her brother along, their faces twisted in horror as Crusher's monstrous figure loomed over them. Tossing the deer's head aside, he forced Sarah into a fake smile, her fear barely hidden. Meanwhile, the sheriff arrived at the crime scene. His mind racing, he saw a dead goon, a decapitated deer, and blood trails leading off into the distance. Knowing it was his only lead, he followed the trail further into the unknown. Back at the house, Sarah became desperate. She tried to bargain for her freedom, her voice shaking as she offered large sums of money. But Crusher's brother showed no emotion, his coldness unshaken. He handed her a glass of lemon water. Sarah recoiled, her voice firm but cautious. "I don't take drinks from strangers," she said, trying to stay calm. Crusher's brother smiled, extending his hand as if apologizing. For a moment, Sarah thought she was making progress, but the illusion shattered when he yanked her forward and slammed her face onto the table. Blood dripped down as she sat, stunned and dazed. Fear gripped Sarah. Was the lemon water poisoned? But then she realized if he had wanted to kill her, he could have done it in the woods. Trying to calm her fear, she drank the water. Crusher's brother watched her with amusement, knowing the drink wasn't poisoned, but was laced with an anesthetic. Within moments, Sarah passed out. With Sarah unconscious, Crusher's brother turned his attention to Ash, who was still tied up. He removed her gag, revealing her terrified face. Without hesitation, Crusher struck Sarah's brother, knocking him unconscious. Then, with brutal efficiency, he tied Ash's shirt like a hunter preparing prey. He hung Sarah from a hook, her lifeless body now positioned like meat for slaughter. As the chaos unfolded, Crusher's brother took pleasure in the moment. He recorded everything, enjoying the torment. He dragged Sarah's brother inside, tied him to a chair, and began taunting him with sadistic joy. But Ash wasn't ready to give up. Seeing a deer horn nearby, she started cutting her restraints. Her mind raced. Should she run or fight? Instinct took over. She grabbed a shotgun, her hands shaking from fear and adrenaline. The cold steel felt heavy in her grip, reminding her of what was at stake. Inside, Crusher's brother was sealing Sarah's brother's wounds with fire, grinning as he reveled in the man's pain. But Ash burst in, breathing heavily. Without hesitation, she fired the shotgun. The loud blast echoed through the room, and Crusher's brother stumbled back. She aimed at Crusher, hands still trembling but focused. She fired again and hit him. Ash stood over their bodies, the air thick with blood and smoke. The nightmare had ended with brutal revenge. She quickly freed Sarah's brother, her heart racing. Together, they shackled Crusher's brother, sparing him only because they needed him to guide them back to the road. They continued on, exhausted and in pain. Their legs trembled, but they had no choice but to keep moving. Suddenly, Ash raised a gun, pointing it at them all. Confusion and betrayal flooded their minds. To Ash, they were no better than captors, all guilty. But Crusher's brother's menacing presence overshadowed them all. The tension broke as Crusher's brother lunged, grabbing Sarah's brother. Desperation filled the air as Sarah's brother screamed at Ash to shoot. But Ash, paralyzed by indecision, couldn't pull the trigger. Crusher's brother seized the moment and killed Sarah's brother. Ash stood frozen, unable to scream. Chaos broke out in a flash. Sarah grabbed the gun from Ash, shaking with fury. This time, she didn't hesitate. The shot rang out, and the bullet struck Crusher's brother, ending his reign of terror. Crusher fell, but the damage had already been done. Now, with the gun in Sarah's hands, Ash's fleeting sense of freedom vanished, reduced to a powerless pawn. Once again, she could only watch as Sarah, her eyes filled with power, pointed the gun at her. Before things could escalate further, a gunshot rang out. Sarah's head snapped back and her body crumpled to the floor. The sheriff had pulled the trigger. He couldn't let Sarah kill Ash. It was a grim but necessary choice. Stepping forward, his voice tight, he interrogated Ashdu, demanding answers. The moment felt suffocating as he ordered her to lead him to the house and reveal the truth. When they arrived, a feeling of dread gripped Ash's throat. Crusher was gone. Panic surged through her as she realized they were doomed. Desperation took over, and she tried to flee, but the sheriff caught her, handcuffed her, and tied her to a chair. Outside, chaos unfolded. Crusher emerged from the shadows, his cold, unyielding gaze fixed on the sheriff. Without hesitation, he grabbed him with monstrous strength and began tearing him apart, limb by limb. The sheriff's agonized screams filled the air as Crusher tossed his broken body aside like a rag doll. Inside, Ash struggled against her restraints. Driven by rage and terror, she broke free and grabbed a large knife. Just as she prepared to escape, Crusher's brother burst in, gun drawn. But Ash was faster. With a desperate lunge, she drove the knife into his forehead, the sickening sound of steel meeting bone echoing through the room. He collapsed, his final scream summoning Crusher. Crusher stormed in, fury radiating from him. Ash, armed with only a few bullets, fired at him before bolting from the house. Her heart pounded in her chest as she ran, but Crusher, even weakened, pursued her. Relentlessly, Ash stumbled onto the road, her last hope in sight. The flashing lights of the police. Just before she reached safety, she turned, locking eyes with Crusher. Defiance burned in her gaze. "Come on," she challenged, her voice trembling but steady. "I'll face the police, but not before I kill you." Crusher's face twisted with rage, but instead of charging, he turned and vanished into the darkness. Ash stood there, trembling, finally exhaling. She was safe, for now. Later that night, the police flooded the house, their presence a stark contrast to the horrors inside. But in the shadows, Crusher watched, his eyes burning with vengeance. Slipping into the forest, he made a silent vow. The nightmare wasn't over. His brother was dead, but the bloodshed would continue. And with that chilling promise, the story ends, leaving behind a haunting sense that the true horror was only just beginning.